Hey, beautiful souls. It's Christine Marcario, your spiritual life coach and manifestation mentor. If you're ready to turn your visions into reality, I've got something special coming your way. Join me for my vision board workshop happening virtually on Saturday, November 2nd, and in person at Holistic Healing at Beck Wellness in Toms River on Saturday, November 8th. Together, we'll go beyond the pretty pictures and create an aligned, energetic vision that speaks to your soul's deepest desires. And if you're ready to take it even deeper, my 5-week course, The Vision Board Activation, begins Friday, November 14th. This experience helps you activate your vision on a quantum level, aligning your energy, beliefs, and inspired action to call it all in. You can learn more and grab your spot through my show notes or the link in my bio. Just tap my link tree for all the details. Because your dreams aren't random. They're reminders of what you're here to receive. Welcome to Aligned and Abundant, the podcast where authenticity meets practicality, compassion, alignment, and abundance. I'm your host, Christine Marcario, and I help you slow down, become more mindful, improve your mental and emotional health, and live life on your highest timeline. Together, we'll talk strategy, life lessons, and share inspiring stories of people who have overcome obstacles, grown through their pain, and risen above adversity. If you're looking for divine inspiration rooted in love and light, paired with practical tools and encouragement, you're in the right place at the right time. From one heart to another, you are an amazing and divine soul with a purpose. Take my hand and let's walk this path together. Welcome to another episode of Aligned and Abundant. On today's episode, I have a special guest. Her name is Pam Sandrock. Pam is the founder of No Knockouts Life Coaching and Personal Development and the host of the No Knockouts podcast. Her coaching is rooted in resilience, intentionality, integrity, and personal growth. She helps others find their truth and be empowered to live for what they want and for what they're meant to be. She is committed to living well, not just living, and helps you do the same. She says, you can be knocked down, but you're not knocked out. Commit to rise, commit to climb, and commit to thrive. Welcome, Pam. I'm so glad to have you on today's episode.
Thank you, Christine. Hello, and thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here with you today.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm so excited to dive into our conversation today. I feel like we have a lot in common in loving the idea of resiliency. I find that it's such a core pillar in my life because, let's face it, there are so many times where we get knocked down, and there are so many lessons and growth in getting back up. I would be interested if you would be willing to share one of the most pivotal moments of your life when you felt like you were knocked down and maybe weren't so strong at first, but then you rose up and developed into these core beliefs of how much resiliency is impactful to your life. Tell me about a time that was most impactful for you in regards to resilience.
Christine, that's a great question. And I have a big story to tell about that. And I promise to not make it depressing, but I do want it to be impactful for you and your audience. I was 37 years old and I got diagnosed with breast cancer, which was 10 years ago. It was the hardest time of my life and it was the most impactful time. minus having kids. Having kids changes your life, especially that first one. It kind of turned your life down a whole different path. Cancer did the same thing, but it didn't carry that same joy and love that having a child does. I was living a great life at the time. I was healthy. I was a stay-at-home mom. I had two young children. My husband and I felt like we had a great life, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer sort of out of the blue. I didn't have it run in my family. I couldn't find any reason to get it. I looked for people to blame. I looked for things to blame, and I couldn't find any. And it really put me in a deep hole emotionally. Just getting that call changes your life. And for me, it was a phone call in the car line in the parking lot at pickup, waiting to pick my kids up at school at the end of the day. And I was literally sitting in car line and really just got punched in the gut. I knew the call would maybe come because I had done the mammogram and the biopsy and all of that. So I was in this limbo period and was dreading the call, but I got the news I didn't want. And I came home to my husband, actually called him. I called him immediately from Carline and was fighting tears, got my kids, came home, and I literally just melted in front of him. And I apologized. I mean, obviously, I was very scared. I didn't know enough yet. It was just the diagnosis. I didn't know. And at this time, I was learning so much, but you don't know. There's different kinds of breast cancer, and I hate to say one is worse than the other, but there are different grades and stages, and I didn't know enough to know how good or how bad I had it given the diagnosis. So there was a lot of unknowns, but getting those words of it is cancer, it's something I don't wish on anybody. It changes you. And I apologized. I was like, I'm sorry because I know this is changing me. I know right now I can never go back to be the same person. And I was happy. We were happy. Things were good. And I kind of felt like that was all going to just go away because I knew it. I was already changed just in those moments. It is a soul stabbing thing. At least it was for me. And having to process that at such a young age with two young kids. I had two young elementary school boys who I was having to run out and go make dinner for that same night. Now, luckily, I had help and all that from my husband, but it's hard to manage life and live in those moments. And so we make it through that. I go through my surgery and whatever I had to do for it just lasted a few months. In fact, it was like from February to June, and I was done with the physical stuff. I was cancer free. I was healthy. The doctors were like, go live your life. But I could not go live my life, Christine. I was so emotionally and mentally wounded. I just couldn't recover. Even though I knew on paper everything looked good, all my numbers were good. I had done a double mastectomy. I had done everything I could to prevent this from never happening again. But I was just so emotionally wounded. And I had this new identity that I was forced into. I was forced into someone who had cancer. And I never saw that happening in my life because I had lived a healthy life on purpose to prevent future problems. And so I was really knocked down for a long time. I was depressed. I was dark. I was sad. I was in grief. I was mourning my old identity. I was mourning who I was, but I was mourning who I used to be, but I didn't know who I was going forward because I didn't like this person who had this label of cancer on her identity. And I couldn't accept it. I couldn't embrace it. And it took me years, but I finally did. I finally drew a line in the sand one day and said, I do not want to live like this anymore. I will not live my life upset. And somehow, through my own conviction, I basically took absolute personal responsibility for it. I was like, I'm not going to be able to wish this away. Nothing's going to change. This is mine. This is mine to carry. And I shifted my own perspective. At one point, it was, I got cancer like it was a bad thing, but I shifted it into, I got cancer and now I've got to be a person without cancer. And now I get to be a person who's had cancer. I get to be both people. And so I had to accept it as a gift, as opposed to it being this detriment in my life, something that's ugly and dark and gray and piercing. I had to accept it as this is a gift to me. And I started embracing it as, do you remember high school letter jackets?
Yes.
Okay, so like if you were in band or in sports, you lettered, you got to be on varsity, you got this badge. I took on that badge. I pretended I had a life's letter jacket and I got the cancer badge. And not everybody gets that. And it became a badge of honor, not one that I'm proud of, not one that I often blurt out and talk about. In fact, for years, I was very silent about it. But I embraced it as something I have gotten to do and live through. And it built resilience because in those months and years, I was incredibly low and I felt unresilient. Even though I was living through it and I looked great on the outside, I pretended I was fine. Inside, I was not. But learning to embrace my new identity, learning how to be in charge of my mind and choose my perspective, that gave me incredible resilience and power because now I know I can do that in almost any situation. I can walk into almost any situation and not just see the good, because some situations are really, really bad, but there are ways to see good in it. There are nuggets to take away that aren't all bad. And so that's how I really started to realize my own resilience is it's in my mind. Yes, you have to have a resilient body, and that's a whole separate topic. You have a resilient mind, a resilient body, but embracing the resilient mind and realizing your power is in how you think, that changes your life. That changes everything.
Wow. First of all, thank you for being so vulnerable, for sharing that story. I literally want to cry for you because no one ever wants to get that phone call and no one ever wants to go through that experience. And, I feel like when anyone receives that diagnosis, there's no going back. There's a point of no return because you are losing who you were in an essence. But I also commend you in the fact that you embraced that after the dark night of the soul, after you felt all the feels, because it's almost like you were going through the stages of grieving. You're grieving a life that you thought you were going to have or that you did have, and you lose yourself for a moment. And so I want to commend you on the strength that it took to be the version of who you are today, where you can look back and you can almost have gratitude for what you've been through because it's made you a stronger, better version of who you are today. And that is so powerful when you share this story because it gives people hope. It shows that resiliency is something that can be embodied. There are so many people that unfortunately get this diagnosis and don't have that second chance at life. And so I just got chills. Like with that,
Christine, that's part of it for me. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I do want to make that point. I went through a period, and honestly, I still have it. It's like a survivor's guilt. I am so grateful. I might cry. I am so grateful, but I'm so sad as well. I get to live, and there are so many people that don't. I get to have a great life. And so part of the way I live my life is to honor what I've been given and honor the people who don't get what I do get. So my choice to live well is in honor of people I don't even know because I'm not going to waste this gift I have. I'm not going to waste. All it was is a diagnosis, and I got the choice. I had choices in my cancer. I wasn't forced into certain things. I got the choice to get a lumpectomy or not. And I took the most radical route. I chose to do a mastectomy to prevent future problems. And so I had choice, but some people don't get that. And so I want to honor the people who don't have choice. I want to honor the people who don't get to live well. And that's part of the drive for me is to commit to live well for myself and for other people that can't. And I honor them and they are in my heart every single day. And I can't shake that. It's ingrained in me. I mean, it is a life-changing experience. I would have never thought that when I was diagnosed. Those came in the months and years afterwards. And so when I say it's life-changing in ways that you can't even imagine until you're in it. So I thank you for your honoring of me and your gratitude. So thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because cancer affects so many people's lives, whether it's directly or indirectly. And that's why it's so important to be aware of how it can change someone's life and hold compassion and space for them. Again, whether, it's a few months, because I hear you, it never goes away.
It's a bag I carry, but I gotta be honest, I don't let it weigh me down. It's kind of like, oh, it's this thing back here. It's always in the back of my mind, but I don't let it be scary because that doesn't serve me at all. There were years where I was so afraid of everything. I was scared of my own shadow. Is that going to give me cancer again? Is this phone call going to be a doctor? I mean, I was just making up fears, and that doesn't serve me at all. So that bag is still there, but I look at it as a badge, not a weight. I let it empower me, not drag me down. Christine, that doesn't mean I don't get scared. And
Mhm.
that doesn't mean I don't have my moments. I do because I'm human. But the way I carry that baggage or the way I carry that bag is a choice I make in my mind. And that's what I help other people do through any coaching I do is whatever you're going through. I don't care if it's something small. How do you want to look at this?
I
And
love
so
that.
that's what I carry with me.
Honestly, I'm almost speechless because it's just such a beautiful way to honor yourself and to honor your experience and to take that with you and not focus on the baggage, because yes, the baggage will be there, the fear will be there, but to not let it be in the driver's seat, you know?
Yeah, and I think this is something that anybody can take with them. My example is breast cancer, but someone who goes through a divorce. I think people walk around and they think they have a big capital D painted on their forehead, and that's just not the case. But we get these badges, or someone who goes through abuse or addiction or alcoholism. They are big bags and big weights. And although I don't have those, I think I can somewhat relate in some way. And I think it's how you look at it. Can you use what you've been through to empower you, not bring you down? That is a choice that I didn't know I had 10, 9, 8, 7 years ago. I didn't realize I had that choice. That is something I learned, and I like to help other people with that.
So tell me, how do you use this experience and these tools that you have added to your toolbox through life and experience? Walk me through how this applies to your coaching, because honestly, it sounds like it would be such a beneficial experience to work with you.
Christine, it's like a fire burning inside of me. It's not something I think about and like define or have to define. I am rooted in this now. I am rooted in living well. I am rooted in bouncing back or bouncing forward because sometimes you can't bounce back to the way you were. Sometimes you bounce in a different direction, which I did. I'm still the same person. It's just my mind, my mental state is different. It's rooted in me to always be a comeback story, to just stay strong. And that doesn't mean you always are. There are many, 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 many times where I am still low and sad and down, but I also know I'm committed to rise. I know I'm going to come back, and I take that time to cry. I take that time to pout. I take that time to feel sorry for myself and give myself my own pity party. I allow that to happen now because I know I'm going to get out of it. I know I'm going to come back. So instead of it being scary to be sad, instead of it being intimidating or scary to be at your low, I allow myself to have it because I know I'm coming back. I know I'm going to bounce out of this. I know I'm going to bounce forward. And I have that intention. And I think when I coach myself and anybody else, or even just my kids, even my own family, I always bring intention into it, whether that's a word I use or not. What's the goal here? What's your intention? And intentionality just gives us a place to aim. And I like to aim high. And I like for other people to aim high. And not everybody's highs are the same, right? Sometimes high is, I just need to get out of bed. Okay. And that's real high sometimes. But other times, high might be, I'm going to have $1 million year, but you got to have a place to aim. It's not just wandering and hoping and wishing. Hoping and wishing is great. And sometimes that's all you have is a hope. But hope can be very powerless. You have to have the intention and the action behind it. And that's where I think I have a lot of practice at that. And so I think I'm good at helping other people do that. So it's the commitment to rise, which is being resilient and having the intention of how you want to live your life. How do you want to show up? Who do you want to be? This isn't by default. You get to choose this. So intentionality is something I always bring into my coaching because it's how I live my life. And then integrity. And when I say integrity, I really mean in alignment. What you want on your inside, you need to align that with the way you speak and the way you think, the way you think, the way you speak, and the way you feel. If you can align all of those, then you're living in alignment. And when you are in alignment, you are in your most powerful state. You are incredibly powerful when you are who you truly are. And when you're in that powerful state, you're also incredibly resilient. You're strong. So to me, the base level is being in integrity and being in alignment because that gives you power to be intentional and it gives you power to be resilient. Is that clear? Does that make sense?
So many good things that you are bringing to our awareness. First of all, I love that you keep hitting upon the fact that we all have choice because we do. And I respect also that you are allowing yourself to feel the feels. I've just gave myself a moment last night where I was frustrated and I was angry, and I'm not much of a crier in terms of letting things go for myself, but sometimes you just have to because we are an emotional human being and we have to let these emotions out so that we can almost clear the drawing board and get back up. Because, like you, I have the same mindset of I will always rise, no matter how dark, how low, how depressed or sad or angry I'm feeling. I know in my heart and soul that I will pick myself back up. And again, that's why resiliency is such a key word that I believe in my life and that I love to see in other people because, again, like life is challenging. There are challenges, and there are some that you can bounce back from easily, and there are some that take years to bounce back from. But at the end of the day, you are the one that will pick yourself up. So it's just so important to remind anyone who's listening to this that even on your darkest days, there is light at the end of the tunnel, like they say. You just have to allow yourself the space to see it. And so when you speak of getting into alignment, I love what you're saying in terms of getting your mind, your words, and your heart and your energy into alignment, into the same direction, so that you can make progress and experience growth. Because after all, we're here to learn and to grow and to experience life, the good, the bad, the ugly, and rise from all of those experiences. And I also adore that you've taken this life experience that may have knocked you down momentarily, but you are now using it as a catalyst for change. You are using it to help other people, to inspire others. And it's like when someone is down in a hole and you put your hand out and you say, let me help you up.
Mm-hmm.
Let me help you rise. Let me hold space for you. And so I want to commend you on taking all that you have been through and now you're giving back to others in such a beautiful, transformational way. And we need more people like you out there in the world doing service.
Thanks, Christine. I can speak back to the days when I was kind of working through my cancer. I was so overwhelmed with emotion and decisions. Let's be clear here. You got to go to the doctor real fast. You got to see lots of doctors, all different kinds. They're giving you advice. You have decisions to make. You got to still deal with your family and life. It's incredibly stressful and hard. And so there's a lot, and I don't want to downplay any of that, but I don't want to say that my emotions were the only thing. There were other things in this too, like managing the life. But I was so overwhelmed, I would go and jot down thoughts. I didn't call it journaling because I wouldn't go and like answer a prompt. I would just literally write down words or phrases or thoughts that I had at the time, and I didn't know why I was doing it. For me, it was relief. I would run and go write teamwork. I remember writing teamwork because I felt like my doctors were part of my team. I had me and I had my husband and my mom, and I had this team of doctors. And I felt like we as a team were going to get through this. It wasn't just me. And I'm forever grateful for all of that. I would jot down words. And one of the things that I wrote down was, you're not knocked out. You're not knocked out. And I somehow rephrased that again and said, you're knocked down, but you're not knocked out. Like, it did it more than once, but it came down to, you're knocked down, but you're not knocked out. And at some point, I really made a promise or a commitment to not waste this experience. I was not going to move forward through life and let this be a thing that just went to the past. Now, I don't let it be something that defines me in a heavy way. Like, it's not this identity of, oh, I've had cancer. I am not proud of it. I do not like it. I wish it would have never happened. But because it did, I need to use that energy towards something. And that's how I've channeled it into helping other people. I have committed to help other people. Why? Because I can. And because I have this experience and I have this knowledge and I've gotten coach training and done all the things, I can combine that. And even if I help just one person, then I've won. Then I've won, because not everybody wants help. I may not be for everybody. Some people may not like me. Maybe they don't like how I talk or how I look or my tone, and that is okay. But if I can help you or anybody else, then I'm happy to do that. And I want to do that, because then I know I'm not wasting the hardship that I went through. So I do feel like in a way, this is a God-given gift. Again, I'm not happy I went through it, but I am better for it. I could have never got to this point today. I could never be talking to you today, Christine, if I would not have gone through this. And so to me, I made a commitment years ago to rise. So every time I'm in my low and I know I can rely on that commitment, my low doesn't last as long. My state of sadness or scarcity or fear, it just doesn't last as long, because I know I can rely on myself to get out of it. And honestly, there's tools. I mean, it's not just a mindset, it is, but like, I run. I sometimes go for a walk or I go run. I basically get outside. And a lot of people take baths. I take a shower. I sit in the shower. Water changes us. And just having that water run over me, and sometimes it is cry in the shower. It is a release, like you were talking about. Sometimes you just have to let it out. That's the way I do it. I cry in the shower sometimes. And that's a healthy thing, not a bad thing.
Oh, yeah. One of my biggest mentors told me that crying, she actually kind of like puts it on her schedule weekly because it's an emotional release. It makes space for other things and it allows you the opportunity to almost cleanse, like cleanse the system, let it out. And so that's just something that I think is very beautiful. We have to realize that being hard or not allowing our emotions to pass through doesn't make us any stronger. In fact, it's probably the opposite. When we allow ourselves to feel the things, we are processing them. And in turn, we are healing ourselves. And then in turn, we're healing others who get to witness that or just experience the benefits of us being more regulated and more heartfelt.
I have a story that I think might help tie some of this together. It makes me feel good to tell it. But back in, I want to say first grade, I was probably 6 years old. My grandparents were over at our house and they were leaving. We were standing outside. They were going to get in our car. And I don't remember who asked me, but somebody asked me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And at the time I said, "I want to be a veterinarian," because my grandfather was a veterinarian. So it was exposed to it. I liked it. So my whole childhood, I grew up saying I wanted to be a veterinarian. But then in high school, do you remember we took ASVAB tests? I don't know. I think that's what it was called, but it was like a career, pick your career kind of thing. What are you going to be good at? It was in high school. And that was up there on the list. It was like number 2 or 3, though. My number one was something in the psychological field. And so I really spent some time with that. And I was like, oh, I think that's a sign. I want to be a high school counselor. I don't want to be a veterinarian. I want to be a high school counselor. And that was really all the psychological field I was exposed to. I didn't know there were other things in that arena at the time. So that's what I picked because it aligned. And so I went to college and started my college education in psychology. And I changed it after a semester, not because I didn't like psychology, because I did. I had one class and I changed my major to biomedical science because I was like, no, I really do want to be a veterinarian. I really do. So I go back and forth, and this is a common thing. So I graduated with a biomedical science degree and went to work, not in that field, didn't even apply to vet school because I was done with school and I just wanted to go to work, and went through life, went through work. I worked before I had kids, and I had kids and I stayed at home. And then in about 2020, after my diagnosis, 4 or 5 years after my diagnosis, I started getting this feeling of like, I really still like psychology. And again, I'm in my early 40s at this point, and I'm like, it just keeps coming back to me. And I started looking up, like, how do you get a psychology degree? What other things? Like, I started just messing around on Google, didn't have a plan, but I just started doing some searching. And life coaching stuff eventually started being fed to me. You know how the algorithm feeds you stuff after you do searches?
Yes.
So life coaching stuff came up, and I was like, what is this? What is this? And it was like a light bulb moment at some point where I was like, oh my gosh, it is all come full circle. I know I want to do this. So I had this like time from high school where I was like, I really do like the psychological stuff. And it always kind of like festered inside of me, but I had no place to put it. And then I had this whole experience, this massive bucket of cancer experience and knowledge and wisdom and energy. It was full of energy. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I need to be doing. I have to combine those two. And so the combination of my cancer experience and everything I learned from that, and just life, Christine, we all have life's experience and wisdom. And then life coach training and experience with that, I put all that together. That's how I got to where I am today. And that's what I use to push me forward. And I think this goes back to intuition. And I know you do a lot of coaching on this. Follow your gut and follow your intuition. I should have stayed with like, no, I'm not going to say should. I'm not going to say should. My path is great. But there is something to be said for listening to your gut and following your intuition. I talked myself out of it in college out of logic.
Yeah.
I used my brain, not my gut, because at the time I was like, that makes more sense. And while it made more sense, look at me now. I'm back in the psychological field in some fashion. So my message is really listen to yourself. And I know you speak on that all the time and can relate.
Totally. And it's funny because when you look back, sometimes you're like, oh, I should, but it's like, really, you could have, but you chose a different path. And that's perfectly fine because I think we all go through that. That's the beauty of life. We have the opportunity to reflect, but we don't live in the past. We have to move forward and we have to be in the present and just be grateful, like you just did. You turned that beautifully around where you started to should yourself. And then you said, you know what? I'm grateful for that experience and the choices that I made because it led me here. So I want to touch upon that also. Tell me about your podcast. You launched your own podcast, No Knockouts. How did you go from where you were to having that idea that you wanted to get your voice out there through this platform?
It's multiple things. I've thought for several years I wanted to do it, but I never could commit. I got stuck in the I don't know how. It seems like a lot of work. It's too scary. What if people don't like me? I'm going to be judged, all the things. And for about 2 or 3 years, I started collecting content and coming up with episode ideas. I have no shortage of that. And this year, I just got to the point I'm like, come on already. Let's either just do it or not. And it became, I'm doing it. I'm committing. And I started in May. And it doesn't mean I wasn't scared or fearful or knew exactly what I was doing. I did it anyway. I moved before I was ready. I did it even though it felt cringy. I wasn't completely comfortable, but I did it anyway because that's how you grow. You're not always going to be ready. You're not always going to be comfortable. And I made that conscious decision and committed to doing it, even though I didn't feel ready or comfortable. And it, in a very short time, I became comfortable and I learned more. And so I wish I would have done it sooner? No, it was the perfect time because I needed to go through all that to get to the point of hitting publish. But my podcast is so much fun. It's incredibly rewarding. As you know, it's a lot of work, but it's also rewarding. And it's a way for me to express myself and hopefully reach listeners who might want to hear what I have to say. And Christine, it's great because I get to meet people like you. I get to meet other people who do the same thing and we get to sit and have conversations. How fun is this? If I could have like dreamed up a life where I say I get to sit and talk to somebody, I'm in. I'm in. I want to do that. I mean, do you agree?
No, that's what I was going to say. It is so much fun. When I describe podcasting to anyone, I am just having so much fun, and you get to meet with so many different people, and I love talking to different people, but I also love talking to people in different countries. Like how cool is that? Like to have a friend in Australia who's 14 hours ahead, it's like a mind trip as far as like, just thinking about it. But it's also so cool just to hear about other people's experiences. And I almost compare it to like reading a book. Do you know what I mean? Like you're getting to experience and chat with people that you wouldn't normally have that opportunity to do so through this platform. And one thing that I think is so powerful, for example, Anne Frank, when she wrote her diary, she didn't know what was going to happen. She didn't know how it was going to be such an impactful book of her journey, of her life, of her inner thoughts and feelings. And that's what I kind of love about podcasting is because it's a legacy that you're creating for anyone who wants to hear your voice. I recently was listening to a podcast and it was about a man who had a mother whose mother lived during World War II and the Holocaust. And she had given him to a family to keep him safe for about 2 months. And during that time, she journaled and she gave him the journal, but he was too afraid to open it because he had abandonment issues based off of that. And before she passed away, she made him open the journal and read it with her.
Mm.
And it was just so amazing because he was able to go inside of her thoughts and her feelings and her reasons for wanting to keep him safe, like at the heart. She just wanted to protect her baby.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like podcasting in a way has become a way in which your voice can carry on because it's not like it goes away. I mean, it could be around forever. And if you were to knock on wood, pass away tomorrow, my kids would be able to have my voice. They would be able to hear my thoughts and reflections of the world. And while I don't want to be morbid, it's just something that's kind of cool to know that your voice is out there. And I recently, a fun fact too, I was in Buzzsprout and I was looking at the impact, and I have people listening in India, Asia, and I was like, what? I was like, that is
Yeah.
so cool, to know that your voice is being heard around the world. And if this impacts even one person, that's always the goal, right? One person. And if it's more, that's just bonus. So
Hmm.
it really is a cool way to
Yeah, I agree. I have a regular listener, I think, in Germany. So if you're listening to this, hello. Or
love it.
I don't know this person, but I do have listeners everywhere, and I think that's cool. I also, this is background, but I did put this out there. I did start my podcast for legacy because, like you said, God forbid, my voice lives on.
And I didn't even
And
know
so
that, but that's so cool that I hit upon that.
yeah, in fact, I have notes on it. It's a note I jotted down when I was reasoning through all of it. It's legacy, and it's not for me. I am getting massive benefit from this because I'm having so much fun talking to you, talking to other people, doing it myself. That's for me, but it's for other people. And I may never know who they are. I may never meet them, or they may be the closest people to me. And it may be years down the road, but I did this for my own legacy. So my voice can live on if need be. And I may not have, not that I have the greatest things to say at all the times, but somebody may want to hear something I say. And so that is a huge part of it for me. So we connected right there and we didn't even know we were gonna.
Exactly. I love that. That's a beautiful synchronicity right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about your Do Midlife Well book club.
I have started a book club a few months ago. I started it in September and it's called Do Midlife Well. Both of my children are off at college now. So my husband and I are empty nesters. So I feel like I'm going through this transition. And I planned for this. I attended workshops and read books ahead of time. So I didn't just walk into empty nesting without knowledge. And so I've done some research and done all the things ahead of time that I know to do and prepare mentally, come up with a game plan. And I thought, why not do this with other people? There's plenty of other people who want to live the middle part of their life well. I don't want to just live. I don't want to be like, oh, my kids are at school and it's just my husband and I and we're bored and the house is quiet and we're sad. And I don't want that. I want to thrive in every stage of my life. And again, that's a choice. We could just sit here and stare at each other in the TV, but we're not gonna. And so I've made a conscious decision to bring intentionality to this stage of my life. And I just want to do that with other women if they want to do it with me. It's a very passive thing. We're doing a book club. I'm doing some coaching intermittently between it. So it's coaching and reading and discussion and community. And so if anybody's interested in joining the Do Midlife Well book club, it's ongoing. So it's going to be an ongoing thing. So you can join at any time. It's fun and rewarding. And the best part about it is the community because we're with other people going through the same thing. And it doesn't necessarily have to be empty nesting. It's just someone who wants to do the middle part of their life well and wants to bring intention to it. And honestly, we're all in different stages and we're all very different people. So you apply to you what you need to apply, but it's great to discuss it with other people.
Is this held virtually?
I do it on Zoom. Anyone from anywhere can join. We do it on Zoom. Right now, we're meeting weekly. It's going to go down at some point, probably after the turn of the year, but we're meeting weekly right now to not discuss the book every week, but do some intermittent coaching in between. It's a ton of fun.
I love that. And you know what I was thinking? Do you know when you're pregnant and you get one of those books that kind of guides you through, like, now the baby is the size of a
Yes.
cantaloupe? I never really thought, like, yeah, I should prepare for midlife. I should prepare for the transition because you want to go into things with tools. You want to go in with knowledge because, like you said, at least for me, yeah, I don't want to be stuck in front of the TV thinking about all the things that happened in the past. I want to be ready.
I coach on that a little bit and we talk about it because we plan for the early part of our life. Like go back to when you're in high school or even elementary, you dream about having a spouse and you dream about how many kids you're going to have and what your house is going to look like and you dream about your young life. And then at some point in your life, you start to plan for your late years. You plan for retirement, you plan a lot of people plan their own funeral. You buy your plot or your casket or whatever ahead of time. I'm serious. You plan the end of your life, but nobody dreams or plans about like, hey, I can't wait till I'm 50. Nobody says, ooh, when I'm in my 40s, this is how life is going to go. We don't dream about our 40s and 50s and 60s. They just kind of appear because we're so busy. We don't plan for them. We don't look forward to them, because there's no time to look forward to it. And so I think I bring about an awareness to this stage of life and we begin to dream again. And that's what I open up within this group. We know we plan for our 20s and we know we're going to plan for our late years, but let's plan and dream here in this middle stage. What do we want to do with this part of our life? And what I'm noticing and what I know is a lot of people don't know how to dream. And I was once that way. I had stopped dreaming for years because I was doing life. I was consumed with myself. I was consumed with my kids, my husband, our life. But now I have space to dream. And I challenge women to do that. And I'm able to teach them and coach them. I call it opening a dream. We open a dream. And sometimes that feels strange when you first do it because it feels selfish. You're like, oh no, I can't dream. I can't want anything for me. I'm here for everybody else. And that's just BS. You exist too, and I exist too. And so we have to allow for our own existence and allow us to wake up and dream again. And that's part of the process that I walk people through just in the Do Midlife Well book club. It's expansive. I'll put it that way. It's both relieving and expansive. It's relieving to have other people to talk to who are going through the same stage of life, some of the same challenges. We're all at this point in life, we're facing perimenopause or menopause. We have all these health challenges that come up that none of us really want, but they're there. And so we're going through health and body changes, not just transitioning to empty nesting. There's people who are choosing divorce at this stage of life. There are people who are just now getting health challenges. There are people who are having to care for their parents. And so it's a very challenging time of life. So it feels like there's no room to dream and think about yourself, but that's just not true. And we do a lot of that.
That's so amazing. And, you know, I hear that so many people or so many women also have such awareness and awakenings around the midlife, around 40s, 50s. Like, I have heard some women say that they feel like they've just started to live at 40 because you are getting over the hump of, you know, getting married, finding the one, having the kids, finishing your college, starting your business, all of that. And I love that you use the word consume because it raises such awareness that we get so consumed with all the things that we forget how to dream. And as a child, dreaming using your imagination was a tool that we used constantly. And to go back to that is to bring yourself back to the childlike wonder of
Absolutely.
your life. And I find that so valuable. I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing for others. And in that, you're also getting the gift of community and conversation and camaraderie. And so that sounds like such a powerful, powerful community.
Well, I think it is because and you raised awareness to this. It's like we're reawakening in this part of our life. And if the space doesn't exist, we're making space for it because we're realizing it's my turn. I've given myself to so many people for so long. I need to take a little space for myself. And some people want to take a lot of space for themselves. It's personal, but it's a time to awaken yourself and realize I've got more to live. I've got more to offer. I've got more to consume. I've got more to provide. There is more of me in here than I realized. And we wake that up and try to turn it inside out. I feel like a flower, like turning inside out and blooming. And that's what I try to do with the women in my group. We try to turn inside out and bloom. We come out of our shells, would be a way to put that as well.
Where can people sign up for your Do Midlife Well book club?
It's at noknockouts.com/do midlife well. It's also in my Instagram and on my website. So you can go to at no knockouts on Instagram and there's a link there, or go to the link at noknockouts.com/do midlife well. It's just a
Perfect.
real quick sign up.
And I'm also going to put it into the show notes. So no
Yeah.
worries there if anyone wants to. And I would highly recommend jumping on this. You have already shared so much, but if you were to leave the listeners with one or two golden nuggets, what would you like to share? What is on your heart to share?
Gosh, I have a lot to share. You want me to narrow it down? Let's see here.
No,
Well,
tell
I
me
mean,
everything.
obviously, uh,
Forget the narrowing down.
yeah. Obviously, the very first thing is if you get knocked down, you're not knocked out. Just use that as a mantra. Ingrain that in your daily life. Just know that when you're down, you're going to come back. You're going to commit to rise. You're going to commit to climb, and you're going to commit to thrive. So ingrain that as a mantra that you live by. That's what I call a no knockouts life. But secondly, your mind is your most powerful tool. And we train our bodies, we lift weights, we maybe exercise or whatever we do. We train our bodies, but we need to train our minds too. It's not about just going through life, being an autopilot, living day to day. You have to make a conscious and intentional choice to live better. And I just want to encourage everyone to take that challenge and make that choice, because when you can train your mind, whether it be through reading on your own or listening to a podcast or hiring a coach or going to a therapist, anything that you can do to improve your mind, your life will improve. That's probably my bottom line for today, Christine, is your mind is your most powerful tool, so train it.
And I think that's such a beautiful takeaway. I myself only this year hired a coach and joined a coaching community. And now I have a lot of coaches in my life, and each one serves a different purpose. And the amount of growth that I have personally had since I started this journey in February of this year is like monumental. Like, yes, I am still the same person at the core, but I am also so changed. And I honestly have my coaches to thank because there's so much mindset work when you change your mind, you change your life. If you are where I was last year, getting up every day and doing the commute and just going through the day and just almost in survival mode, enjoying the glimmers as they came, but not really fully living in my authentic self, in the highest version of myself that I get to do now, which is having these amazing conversations and coaching people and getting to see them make progress. I would highly recommend it. And it's funny, I'm in my 40s. So it's like, again, I'm allowing myself that opportunity. I'm allowing myself to pivot, to explore, to use my imagination again, and to really dream big, because why not? At the end of the day, every day counts, every moment counts. And the impact that we have on other people is just bonus. When you can wake up and feel good about your day and wake up with gratitude in your heart and go to bed feeling like you led an authentic life in the best way that you could with the cards that you were dealt, that's a beautiful life right there. And I want to also say, when you're giving to yourself, you can give more to others because you're more whole, your cup is more filled. And it's hard to give from an empty cup. So it's just so important, the value of doing something for yourself, whether it's hiring a coach or joining a book club, anything that allows you the space, the opportunity to grow and expand as a human being, as an individual. It's just so amazing.
100%. And I want to add something to that about the coaching. You and I are in one of the same circles. We have a mentor in common, and we get this presented to us. And I know we do this for our own clients. Sometimes you don't have the belief that you can do something, but a coach can see that you can. They can carry a belief because a coach is impartial. They don't have the same limitations that you have. And a coach allows you to borrow their belief. And that gives you the opportunity to move forward when you don't have the belief in yourself. And so I think that we can see through, as a coach, we can mirror back what someone is presenting to us, but we can also see things in people that they have limited within themselves and talk them into betterment, because we know they can do it. Just like our coach believes in us that we can do things that we don't think we can. And so it is, again, back to mindset and belief systems. But having someone healthily in your mental mind, having someone on your team is invaluable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's
You
invaluable.
you nailed it there. And also, having a coach forces you out of your comfort zone, because the current coach that I'm working with gives us challenges. And so I liked to be the A student. I'm going to force myself out of my comfort zone to have the conversation, to extend the offer, to invite you into my coaching world, because I want to succeed. And so my coach knows, and she always reminds us that we are so much more capable. And so when she mirrors that back to us, then you can start to believe it and see it for yourself. And then when you are gently coerced into doing things that are pushing your nervous system, and then on the other side, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Oh, I can do that again. And it just instills this belief in you. And it's like a muscle. It just builds and builds and builds.
Well, I think you have to open up your mind to possibility too. And I think a coach will do that for you. A coach will give you a possibility to see that you couldn't see before. And you have to be open to that. So the amount of growth that you can have with a coach is limitless, because possibilities exist that you can't even fathom. And if someone else presents it to you, it can become a challenge. And immediately we're going to say, oh, I can't do that. But that's just not true. You can do so much more than you think you can. And so our limits are really ourselves and our brains. And that's where we work. We work in the mind.
Yes, because the mind wants to keep you safe. So anything that is going to pose uncertainty or unknown, the brain is going to be like, no, we can't do that. I can't afford it. I don't have time. Why should I give this to myself? We're going to come up with all of the reasons, and then we're going to easily believe them because it's just easier, instead of, wanting and finding a way to make it happen. Do you know what I mean? Of course, with anything in life, real talk, things cost money, right? In particular, the coach that we have in common, that cost money. On the other end, like I said before, look where I'm at. Look at the growth I've had. My family can say, you are a better version of yourself. You are so much happier. You are so much more of yourself. And you can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah.
You just can't. And so you find a way, and I do believe in divine timing. I do believe in that. And if it's not meant to happen right now, you can set the intention to call in the right timing and the right person, like you said before. And I believe too, I don't want to just coach anybody. I want to coach someone who I feel in alignment with, who I can have a connection with, who I can hold possibility for, who I can see their potential. And so that's why it's important to have a conversation and to make sure that we are in energetic alignment, because my job is not done unless I see you growing and changing and feeling like you have gotten a lot out of our time together. That's very, very important. You don't want to go to a salesman and buy a car and you pull off the lot and it dies.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to get what you pay for.
Yeah. You want the value to be there and you want the person to get results.
100%.
No fluff. There's no fluff. It's all
Yeah.
about the results.
Pam, I want to thank you so much for your time. This was such a beautiful conversation. And honestly, I am going to reflect on this conversation because you made me cry. And I hold so much compassion for the things that you have been through and that you have bounced back from. And just the fact that you have taken that life experience and you are using it as a catalyst for change in other people's lives. You have no idea the impact that you have made upon me today. And I'm sure that you make upon the women that you come into contact with in regards to who is listening to your messaging and who is joining your book club, because wow, you are just doing such an amazing job at life, girl.
Thanks, Christine. I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me. I don't want any pity. I wouldn't want to give that to anybody else. I do appreciate the compassion, but I really want to use whatever energy and turn it into good. And so if someone hears this today, please don't feel sorry for me. I don't want the pity. I want you to use my power and make your life better. Please take that energy and do something with it for yourself. And if I can be of any service to you or Christine can be of any service to you, we are here for you.
And I honor that so much because I have heard stories of people, just to end on this note, people that are in a wheelchair. They don't want the pity. They want to be treated like a human being. They want to be treated as normal,
Yeah.
So I feel you on that. And I appreciate you saying that. And I honor what
Thank
you're
you.
sharing. So thank you so much, Pam. This has been such
Thank
a
you.
wonderful conversation. And you truly are a blessing.
I appreciate it. And Christine, you are great to sit and talk with. This is healthy for me, and I hope our listeners have fun. And I appreciate your time and your energy that you bring. You were great.
Thank you so much. If you've been feeling the pull for deeper transformation, real, lasting change that starts from within, I'd love to invite you into transformational one-on-one coaching with me. This is where alignment becomes your new normal. You'll get 4 90-minute sessions at an introductory offer of $600, designed to help you release what's holding you back, reconnect with your truth, and step into the next version of yourself, fully and unapologetically. You can book your sessions through the link in my bio. Just tap my link tree to get started. Your next breakthrough is closer than you think, and I'd love to be a part of your journey.